welcome to The Portrait, a true reflection of the Gold Coast. Tonight, we explore everything local. Whether you're looking for helpful history, exciting energy or fabulous fitness, we've got you covered. Joining you on this exhilarating journey on the 17th of October, I'm Sarah Penfold.
I'm Dom Murray.
I'm Shani Shigaki.
And I'm Ellen Fredrickson.
As always, interact with tonight's stories or just tell us what we got wrong using the hashtag #ThePortrait. Our first story tonight will make you double check you locked the front door. Ellen, take it away.
More and more people are putting houses and rooms on Airbnb to add a bit of cash to the bank. As for Leslie, she advertised her home on the site as a way to feel safe from her abusive neighbor. And this is her story. 68-year-old Leslie Comet has felt unsafe in her own home in Labrador ever since her harassing neighbor moved in downstairs from her 6 months ago. Rotten fruit and garbage in her mailbox and on her doormat are just some of the things she's had to deal with. Leslie's plan has always been to move back to New Zealand where she was born, but suddenly finds herself in a hurry to do so. But in the meantime, she's found a way to have company in her own home and thereby feel more safe.
Somebody told me about Airbnb and I thought, well, that's a good way to have company in my house since I live here by myself, you know. So I signed up with Airbnb and I have company here. I feel safe. So that's the only thing. I mean, I know I want to move back to New Zealand, but that's probably the only thing I'm really going to miss. I mean, I am going to miss my lovely house and my 200 steps to the water and all that, but they are the things that I never enjoyed as much since he moved in here because I wasn't game to go out so much. So I was technically a prisoner in my own home until I got involved with Airbnb. I just had all this great company, and he doesn't tend to abuse me when there are people around. So I've been conditioned to be nervous and scared to leave my house. So, unless I have company, and that's Airbnb.
I've never thought of Airbnb being used this way like Leslie did. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's a really good idea because everyone deserves to feel safe, but there are also certain risks with it. I mean, if you're inviting a stranger from the internet to stay with your home, you sort of need to know a bit about them. I mean, there have been horror stories, there have been people stealing paintings, trashing houses. There was even a case where some prostitutes used Airbnb and turned it into a brothel. So you do just need to be a bit careful, and I think maybe there need to be more safety checks in place. What do you guys think?
Wow, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure there would be some sort of checks, but maybe not to the extent that we need, you know, given those examples. But as for Airbnb, definitely I'm all for it. You know, cheap accommodation, someone to show you around, feeling like you're at home, not just in a hotel room, different experience. So tick of approval from me. What about you, Shani?
I don't think Airbnb should be to blame, for safety mishaps and things like that. I think it's a great way of connecting people. I think, like we've seen, how Uber's really driving that sense of community. So I think it's kind of like that in a sense, and I think it's great.
Our next topic puts the story back in history. Dom reports.
Typically, the phrase Gold Coast history prompts images of Broadbeach in the 1970s, when schoolies became a local tradition. Others may picture early high-rise developments in 1960s surfers' paradise. Suddenly, the Gold Coast transformed into a glamorous tourist capital. However, beyond this, local history is often a mystery. The 1940s? The 1910s? Few people know what was happening on the Gold Coast. Actually, we possess a rich, diverse and extensive history, which volunteers at the Gold Coast and Hinterland Historical Society work tirelessly to preserve. Yet, a lack of awareness means Gold Coast history is slowly disappearing. Once it's gone, it may never be recovered. Hidden in a picturesque surfers' paradise side street, the Gold Coast and Hinterland Historical Society appears to have it all. Rooms overflowing with local historical memorabilia, a graveyard populated by notable local settlers. Yet, two things are missing: visitors and volunteers. Long-time volunteer Elizabeth Fancy elaborates.
We seem to be a place that's hidden away from the general public, and when they come, they're very surprised. And
Former Historical Society President Bob Nankar explains that many locals know nothing about Gold Coast history.
Most people don't even think the Gold Coast has got a history. They think it started with Bernie Elsie and all these developers in Surfers Paradise. But it goes back a hell of a lot further than that.
Senior volunteer John Byrne says that overcoming this obliviousness is challenging as Gold Coast history constantly disappears.
I am ashamed of what the Gold Coast has become, and it has lost its charm as far as I'm concerned. There's very little on the Gold Coast over 4 years of age. Everything else has been knocked down.
Bob agrees, adding that many local historical artefacts are thrown away, as people were not taught about the value of local history at school.
To most people, if they haven't got a use for it, it's rubbish. And most of the stuff a lot of the stuff they throw out in here can't be replaced. Once it's gone, it's gone. And the kids just aren't aware. And they've made history part of the syllabus at the schools now, and kids probably are getting a little bit more interested, but they've still got a long way to go.
Given this, Elizabeth worries that younger generations are not engaging with Gold Coast history, meaning it may be lost.
we're all getting on in ages, and we don't have a younger group that's interested enough or don't have the time enough to come in and also help.
Yet, founder of popular Facebook page Have You Seen the Old Gold Coast, Karen Wright, emphasises that plenty of young people are still interested in local history. Karen states, I get heaps of young people on my page. About a month ago, I had over 1 million people on my page, 2 weeks in a row. Even so, Elizabeth sees a difference between liking Facebook posts and actively preserving history.
We don't like the commitment, like we come every week, whereas somebody might be interested to come only once every blue moon when they've got nothing else to do.
Due to the lack of younger volunteers, John believes the Historical Society will eventually be taken over by the council. Yet, that may be a long way away.
The council is just totally pro-development. They're not interested in history at all. And in fact, matter of fact, the mayor's never been to this site at all.
Ultimately, Bob is hopeful that the museum will continue, but offers a sombre warning.
Before you can teach something, you've got to get somebody to listen. And that's the hardest part.
At the moment, not enough people are listening. Despite these passionate volunteers, the Historical Society's future is tenuous. If it disappears, so too might a wealth of Gold Coast history. I'm Don Murray, reflecting you. So obviously one of the biggest issues facing the Historical Society at the moment is a lack of younger volunteers. Shani, you're a busy young person. Would you ever be able to find time to volunteer somewhere like this?
Yeah, look, definitely. I think it's worth our while as young people to really get in touch with our roots. A lot of young people don't realise that we actually are residing on Yugambeh country. So I think it's really important to recognise our Indigenous history as well. So I'd love to take the time out of my day to really get involved in that kind of an organisation.
And again, there's not much knowledge of the Gold Coast history around on the Gold Coast. Sarah, you've lived here your whole life. Did you learn much about it in school?
No, definitely very little, if not none at all. The focus in history classes was just ancient Rome, ancient Greece, that sort of thing. So no, honestly, I don't know what happened here before I was born. Everything I know, what everything looked like, comes from that Facebook page, Have You Seen the Old Gold Coast? So I think, you know, obviously people should know what happened where they live. So I think maybe not instantaneously, but a long-term sort of goal could be a change to the curriculum just to educate those younger generations, let them know what life was like before they were here. So, I mean, it's definitely what you want to know about, what was here before I was here, I think. Be interesting, and yeah, so hopefully we can get that change happening. What about you, Ellen? Coming from Norway to the Gold Coast, bit different?
Yeah, definitely. We take great pride in our history and we learn about it in school from an early age. So coming here and people not knowing what happened even 20 years ago, it's just strange.
After the break, we'll visit more of the Gold Coast and find out how you can help save the planet. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to The Portrait. We turn now to a topic appealing to everyone, a way to save money and the earth. Here's Shani with the story.
Politicians and electricity oligopolies alike have peddled coal as fundamental to powering up the economy, Australian homes and businesses since the Industrial Revolution's inception. Gold Coasters, however, are energising how we use, buy and store electricity by attaching intelligent batteries to their renewable energy sources.
The fossil fuel industries face massive disruption with new technology aspiring to capitalise on the renewable energy sector. Australia maintains its strong relationship with coal, but a report from the Energy Supply Association of Australia confirms our leading role in the number of household solar panel installations worldwide. Contrary to the polarising opinions of our policymakers, communities in the Sunshine State are embracing batteries and software by attaching it to their solar panels, conserving their own energy off the grid. During the sunlit hours of the day, and at peak hour when the sun goes down, your smart, miniature power station learns your daily energy patterns to make decisions on whether to store or discharge your electricity. The Australian Greens are encouraging the take-up of battery storage and are calling for the federal government to grow the industry by subsidising households and businesses. I spoke with the Greens Deputy Leader Larissa Waters about the future of Queensland energy consumption.
Look, it's really exciting here in Queensland, being the Sunshine State, but also Australia more broadly, where we've got so many wonderful renewable energy options. We've got some of the best sunshine in the world. Obviously, we're an island nation, so we've got great potential for tidal and wave power. We've got things like geothermal energy as a possibility in the mix as well. And then we've got some pretty good wind options in various different parts of the country. So what's exciting about that is that we can keep the lights on at home and keep the cars running, ideally electric cars, but also tackle climate change by making that switch to clean energy. As we see the coal demand dropping globally, and many people already in Queensland losing their jobs in the coal sector, those people need work. They need a plan for the future. And clean energy production could be happening right across the state. And we know it actually employs more people for the product than does mining. So it's more job intensive, it's better for the climate, and it's where the world's going. So it's where our prosperity will lie in the future. What a great way to stimulate the economy in a positive way for the environment that also then helps those communities with the transition.
We did have solar panels growing up when I was a kid, but I live in a shared flat now and I don't think we have them there. I think the idea of, a self-sustained house and something that's a bit more environmentally friendly is a really good idea, but I do think there is a bit of an issue with the cost at the moment, so it's really not quite viable for the everyday house to fork out that much money for something like that, because at the moment it's just too expensive. So I think it's kind of up to the government to subsidise that a little bit and get the prices down so that everyone can really access that a lot more, kind of like what they did in Queensland with the subsidising of water tanks.
An Origin spokesperson says the company aspires to be Australia's largest renewables company, with its commitments to help combat climate change, including the introduction of batteries. After years of lacking momentum within the worldwide consensus of embracing a clean energy future, Australia could finally lead the world with this new technology. As the major electricity players prepare for this renewable revolution, so too should the fossil fuel industries whose groundwork is at stake.
What about you, Dom? Do you see a shift from coal towards renewable energy?
I think there's just going to have to be. There comes a point where we have to choose one or the other, and it just can't be both. Australia is getting a little bit better. We're up to 14% renewable energy now, but there's still a long way to go. You look at even our close neighbours, the South Island of New Zealand, they're almost at 100% renewable energy.
Yeah.
There's places like Albania, Paraguay, Iceland, they're all at 100% too. So Australia has the resources to be one of the top 3 producers of wind and solar in the world, but we're just not quite there yet. And I think there's probably a lot we can learn from these smaller countries. I think Norway's almost at 100% too, aren't they, Ellen?
Yeah, we get the most of our energy from water, and I think it's definitely the future. But Norway being such a small country, it seems like a drop in the ocean. So I think if Australia would go forward as an example, that would be really good.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sarah?
We've already seen with solar panels, they not only obviously save the earth, but save your wallet. Isn't that what everyone wants, really?
Yeah.
Good sort of ultimate goal. So I think if we can look to promoting this, people will realise the cost it'll save, and hopefully more will get on board, and we can get that 14% up to 90, 100, hopefully. So yeah, it's a yes from me. I definitely consider this
Fantastic.
on my own for sure.
Would you attach a battery to your solar panel?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah? What about you, Dom?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, a story that's sure to get you off the couch and active. Just try to stay sitting long enough to watch it.
Exercise. The word most of us hate hearing and, let's be honest, an activity most of us hate doing. But The Gold Coast has more to offer than just public pools and gym memberships. Drumstick cardio, trampoline fitness classes, altitude training, the Gold Coast has it all. Being sick of your exercise routine just won't cut it anymore. And according to the experts, these kinds of exercise are just as good, if not better, for physical and mental health than mainstream techniques. A study by the Australian Bureau of Statistics reveals that fewer Australians are doing exercise. Overall participation rates have dropped to 60% in the last 5 years. But with more alternative exercise programs available on the Gold Coast than ever before, perhaps we can become the anomaly. The only problem? Locals aren't aware of all their options.
It's called Pout and Rock Out Workout, and it's a full body cardio jam session, which is inspired on Pilates strength training and drumming. On your kind of fitness level, you're working your heart and your lungs, of course, and your big muscle groups as well as your core. It's a core training, but also you're working your coordination. Also, it's excellent for stress, relieving stress, banging sticks. And also you increase your range of movement just because of the moving down to the floor, and so it can improve flexibility as well. The drumming is actually a strategic distraction so that you don't think about the workout.
But if drumming isn't for you, perhaps you can swing your exercise reluctance away in a trapeze challenge.
It's also a great way to get fit because it's just a little bit different to going to a gym or anything like that. You don't realise sometimes how much energy and how much muscle you're using because you're just kind of learning new skills and enjoying it. So it's a good way to build up those muscles without actually thinking that you're doing a workout. Even when I tell people that I work in circus, they go, "Oh, that's a really interesting job." So it's kind of it's a fun thing to tell people that you do for fitness rather than saying you go to a boot camp. You say you go to a circus school, and it's just a bit different to what people are used to.
But if you'd rather stay more grounded, or a fear of heights is what's stopping you, try swapping running shoes for a pair of socks and heading to a one-of-a-kind Bounce Fit class.
Plyometric training and rebound training burns more calories in 10 minutes than going for an endurance run or on the bike or doing laps and laps in a pool.
Just one 45-minute Bounce Fit class can do wonders for core and all-over muscle tone. And according to NASA, rebound exercise is the most effective form of exercise yet devised by man.
Calling people by name is definitely a highlight because you know that they're coming regularly, getting their regular exercise. Some even stop their gym payments to work here.
Or why not try altitude training at Project Sparta in Burleigh Heads? Ordinary exercise, but in a room at 5,000 metres above sea level.
More for your people that can't do that high impact sport, so you can still see results with less impact. So produce more red blood cells, so rehabilitation wise, it increases the red blood cells for that purpose, so you find that your recovery rate's a lot quicker. I personally did a 12-week challenge in there and went from 33% down to 17% body fat. So I've seen the results in myself, and being able to show the photos of the before and after of using altitude, it's 100% working.
But exposing the body to such different experiences may have some downsides. We spoke to the experts to find out.
With the diversity of the Australian population, there's going to be different modalities of exercise that appeal to different individuals. What we need to do is to change that stimulus all the time. So the body continually has to adapt and to change, either to get stronger or to get fitter. Mixing it up is probably important to keep people on track physically and also psychologically. First disadvantage is essentially if it's going to be harmful to the individual participating in it, that's where it could be problematic. So there needs to be appropriate screening and of individuals before they participate in the exercise, and again it gets back to that evidence-based, which is really important. The other potential negative is that it's setting up false expectations for people. So if a modality of exercise is promoted to be the best exercise ever or the best yet, if those create false expectations in the community, I think that can be problematic as well.
If alternative exercise activities or opportunities exist and people who perhaps are not particularly interested in physical activity or are bored with the physical activity they are involved in, take up these alternative physical activities, fantastic.
All of these options should mean nothing for locals, but an increase not only in exercise output, but motivation to do it. The Gold Coast is more than just trendy cafes and beautiful beaches. It's time to get out there, get creative and get fit before the already below average statistics become worse. There are more options out there than you think, and definitely something that can appeal to everyone of any shape and size. This is Sarah Penfold for The Portrait.
So, what do we reckon? Would you guys consider incorporating some of these programs into your exercise routine?
I mean, I definitely would. Jogging can get quite boring in the long run, and I would definitely try something that could be both fun and health beneficial at the same time. Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case and it's fun, it's beneficial, then there's no worries. You just want to make sure that it's not too good to be true. So you don't want to make promises that you can't keep. You don't want people showing up thinking they're going to get super ripped and then they come for 5 weeks and they notice no results, really.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. What about you?
I liked how you highlighted the mental health aspect. I think it's a great way of getting people to do new, different, interesting things. For me, exercise is really enjoyable when there's a social kind of aspect to it. So for me, I'd love to get myself and my friends involved in these kinds of techniques. Yeah.
Definitely a big thing. If you enjoy something, you're going to want to do more of it. So I think the
Definitely.
programs I've highlighted are enjoyable. So you'll think, hey, it's fun, it's not exercise, this doesn't count, it's good, I'll go along next week.
Why not?
And a good end goal, I think, for us as a society.
Well, that's all we have time for tonight on The Portrait. Join us at the same time tomorrow night. Thank you for watching. I'm Shani Shigaki. Good night.